notes, research, and boils it down to get you informed fast.
That's the goal.
And today, wow, we're getting into a topic that, well, it touches pretty much everyone, shapes our lives, our societies, and yet maybe we don't understand it as well as we think.
We're talking about marriage.
Exactly, marriage. But look, not just marriage as, a legal piece of paper or a romantic thing focused only on how happy I am.
Or even the tax breaks, let's be honest.
Right, those come up too. But what if? What if marriage is actually far more sacred, maybe even more dangerous in what it implies, and profoundly more holy than most people ever really consider?
That's the core idea from our source material today. It offers this really radical spiritual take.
It really does, suggesting that, marriage wasn't even our idea. It wasn't man's idea.
Nope, it was God's. Designed, the source says, right from the beginning. Like, the beginning.
To reflect something eternal, something fundamental to, everything. Bigger than any human setup.
Yeah, something foundational.
Okay, let's unpack this, because seriously, what if everything you thought you knew about marriage was just like scratching the surface?
The tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And there's this whole deeper divine blueprint just waiting. What if getting that blueprint could, change how you see commitment, love, even your purpose?
Well, what's really fascinating here, I think, is how often we define these massive concepts like marriage based on really limited views, right?
Yeah, like what we see on TV
Or just pop culture, secular laws, maybe our own feelings, which, change day to day, our own experiences.
Sure.
So this deep dive,
Yeah.
it isn't just about exploring one religious view. It's about getting into the foundational perspective presented in our source material today.
And it definitely challenges the usual stuff we hear.
Oh, absolutely. It challenges that conventional wisdom. So our mission really is to move past the surface level, the purely emotional takes, and unpack some specific biblical ideas, foundational concepts. See what they reveal about the meaning, the divine origin of marriage, according to this source.
Peeling back the layers.
Exactly. Trying to understand not just what it is from this viewpoint, but why it matters. Like on a cosmic scale.
Wow, okay. Cosmic scale.
Yeah. And what that understanding means for us, for our relationships, maybe even how we see God.
Okay, so when we talk marriage, most people probably think wedding, right? Rings, vows, maybe the party afterward.
The legal docs?
Yeah, the paperwork. We kind of assume it's this social thing that just evolved.
Right, like something humans came up with over time.
But this source, it takes us way, way back, before any of that. Before human traditions, before legal systems.
It says marriage predates all of it.
Yeah. It wasn't like invented by some government to keep order or a culture trying to figure out family lines.
Not just a tradition that sort of grew up.
No. And here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. The source claims marriage was set up directly by God himself.
In the Garden of Eden.
In Eden. Even before sin happened. Before the fall.
Think about that.
I mean, seriously. Before humanity messed up, before we needed redemption, before all the brokenness we deal with now.
There was marriage.
There was marriage. That just flips everything on its head, doesn't it? It challenges almost every idea we have.
It really does. It frames marriage as this original, perfect design.
Wow.
It fundamentally shifts the whole premise. If you look at Genesis 2, verse 24, the source really highlights this. It's presented as this foundational decree.
What does it say again?
Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh.
Okay.
And this isn't just, nice poetry or some old story. The source presents it as a divine mandate, a blueprint for us.
So let's break that down. Leave his father and mother.
Yeah, let's unpack that. Each word there carries a lot of weight. Leaving. That signifies a complete, a definitive break from the old family unit.
Which was huge back then, right? In those societies.
Absolutely radical. It wasn't about disrespecting your parents or abandoning them. It was about setting up a new primary unit, a new main allegiance.
Your own household.
Exactly, a sovereign unit.
Yeah.
The son isn't mainly defined by his dad's house anymore, the daughter by her mom's. They make their own thing.
Okay. And then be joined.
Right, be joined. Or the Hebrew word, dabak. It literally means to cling, to stick fast, to cleave.
Wow, like glue.
Pretty much. It implies this inseparable bond, the permanent connection, like really sticking together tenaciously.
So not temporary, not casual.
Definitely not. It's a commitment designed right from the start to be permanent.
Yeah.
A deep, lasting connection that's meant to override other ties.
Okay, and the last part. Become one flesh. That's the bit everyone knows, but what does it really mean here?
Well, the source is clear. It's way beyond just the physical side, though that's definitely part of it and important.
Right.
But it speaks of this holistic unity, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, relational oneness, a complete integration.
So not losing who you are, but weaving together.
That's a great way to put it. Weaving two lives together so tightly, they function as this unified whole, a new entity almost.
Like two different instruments playing a harmony. You still hear both, but the result is something totally new.
Exactly. The individual notes are there, but the combination is something richer, bigger than just the two parts separately.
So it's not just living together or sharing stuff. It's an actual transformation into a single unit. That sounds, well, almost supernatural.
Precisely. And the source really emphasizes this point. It was the first earthly picture of God's design for unity.
Wow.
And the timing is crucial. This was before sin, before the fall, before we needed complex religious rules or atonement.
Okay, that's huge.
It means marriage in its original, purest form. It was designed in perfection, intended to be foundational, strong, unbreakable.
So if it came before sin, what does that tell us about how it was supposed to be compared to, the challenges we see now?
Well, it implies this inherent perfection, right? A resilience that maybe our modern issues like extreme individualism or putting personal happiness above everything.
Or just divorce, sadly.
Right. Those things fundamentally corrupt or hide that original design.
Yeah.
Understanding that original setup, where it was this perfect, pure thing from God, it totally reframes the problems we face.
How so?
It moves marriage away from being just a human idea, something flawed that we can just tinker with or get rid of if it's not working, and frames it as a divinely created institution with its own inherent strength and purpose. It suggests maybe the struggles aren't flaws in the design, but ways we've deviated from that original perfect plan.
So the original idea wasn't about finding a perfect person.
No, it was about two people, maybe imperfect, becoming something holy together, a single unit, reflecting God's own unity, becoming something more profound than just two individuals.
Harmony, support, intimacy, the ideal we're meant to aim for.
That's the idea, and it really makes our usual ways of thinking about marriage seem, well, kind of shallow, doesn't it?
It really does. We reduce it so often. Social construct, personal choice, all about me and my fulfillment.
And if the fulfillment dips, we think, okay, time to opt out, like it's a subscription service or something.
Yeah, a consumer choice instead of something foundational.
Exactly. Society often treats it like an agreement, right? A deal.
Yeah.
You do this, I do that. And if someone doesn't hold up their end, or I'm not happy anymore,
The deal's off.
the deal's off. But the source points back to that pre-sin origin, which implies it was meant to be unbreakable, a pure reflection of God's unity.
Which is why thinking about its origin before any human mess-ups is so important. It sets the standard, a blueprint.
A blueprint we're encouraged to try and get back to even in our fallen state. It suggests the potential for something really profound and lasting is still there, embedded in the design.
That's a huge shift from human invention to divine creation. And it totally sets up the next layer the source talks about, which honestly I think most people miss, even people who think marriage is a good thing. That marriage isn't just about the love between the two people, no matter how great that love is. It's about something bigger, a representation.
Ah, yes, the symbolism, that's right. The source points us straight to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 31 and 32.
What does that say?
He says, this mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church.
Okay, mystery. Christ and the church. How does marriage tie into that?
Well, it elevates marriage, doesn't it? Beyond just a relationship between two humans, it becomes this living metaphor, a tangible picture of the ultimate divine relationship, the one between Christ and his followers, the church.
So not just a human thing, but a sacred illustration.
Exactly. And if you look at the roles described in Ephesians 5, the call for husbands is incredibly heavy. Love your wives as Christ loves the church.
Which means?
Sacrificially, unconditionally, relentlessly. It's not about being perfect, but showing a love that gives everything, without holding back, even to the point of self-sacrifice. Think about how Christ loves the church in this view. Pursues relentlessly, even when we mess up. Cleanses, sanctifies, helps us become better. Forgives constantly, and ultimately lay down his life.
So for a husband to copy that, it means constantly looking out for his wife's well-being, her flourishing, even if it costs him personally.
That's the picture. A love reflecting divine generosity and total commitment. It's way beyond just feeling romantic.
That's a massive standard to aim for, monumental. And then the wife's role. That often gets twisted or misunderstood, doesn't it?
It does. The source is careful to clarify. Wives are called to honor and respect, yes, but not as lesser. It's crucial. They are image bearers in a divine partnership.
So not about being inferior.
Not at all. It's presented as a complementary role. Reflecting the divine order, yes, but built on mutual respect. Like the church honors Christ not because it's forced, but recognizing his love and sacrifice. The wife's role reflects this willing partnership, a deep trust, a shared mission.
Where both are essential, just maybe representing different facets of this big picture.
Precisely. And the mystery Paul mentions in Ephesians. That's it right there. How can a human relationship with all its flaws and struggles actually serve as a living, breathing sermon?
A demonstration of Christ's bond with the church.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing to think about the theological weight put on just our daily interactions in marriage.
It's almost like marriage is a kind of performance art. But the performance is your actual life together.
Yeah.
And the message it sends out, whether you mean it to or not, is about God's love, his faithfulness.
Perfectly put. The source says, your marriage preaches the gospel. The question is, which gospel is it preaching?
Oof, that's direct.
It is. It's a profound challenge. Every interaction, every time you forgive, every selfless act, or, the opposite, every selfish moment, every grudge held, it all contributes to the message your marriage sends out to the world, and maybe even beyond.
Like a stained glass window. Does it show God's love clearly, or is it all smudged and distorted?
That's a great analogy. Does it illuminate that divine relationship for people watching?
Mm-hmm.
Do they see God's faithful, persistent love? Or does it obscure it? Does it show a God who sticks around, or one who gives up easily?
It makes you think about the responsibility involved, doesn't it? What message is my relationship sending? What do I see in others?
Right. It's not just a private thing. It has these public spiritual implications because it's reflecting something eternal. It's a powerful idea and often overlooked.
It really is. And that leads us right into maybe the most fundamental difference the source highlights, the one that trips up so many of us in our modern world where everything feels like a transaction.
The conditional mindset.
Yeah, that if-then thinking, it creeps into everything, even our closest relationships. Like the source says, in our world, we treat marriage like a contract. If you do your part, I'll do mine.
That conditional approach. A contract basically says, I'll stick to my side as long as you stick to yours. You mess up, I'm out.
Exactly. That's the modern misunderstanding, isn't it?
Yeah.
A contract relies on performance. If someone breaches it, it can be canceled.
Often with penalties.
Yeah.
It's about defined roles, things you have to do, and usually an escape hatch.
But the divine view, according to the source, is totally different. God sees marriage as a covenant, not a contract.
And that distinction is absolutely crucial. It changes everything. A covenant isn't based on performance, it's based on promise.
Promise, okay.
The source points to Malachi chapter 2, verse 14, which explicitly calls marriage a covenant with your wife by God. It's not just an agreement between two people. It's a solemn vow made before God, binding them in this sacred promise that goes beyond how they feel right now or what's happening.
So if a contract is about what you do, a covenant is about who you are committed to. Regardless of what the other person does or doesn't do, that sounds incredibly hard in a real human relationship.
It is hard, and that's the fundamental difference. A contract is conditional. It has exit clauses, penalties, like a business deal. A covenant, though, that's unconditional, binding, made on the basis of this unwavering promise that lasts despite the challenges, despite failures, despite feelings coming and going.
So it's a commitment to the person and the marriage itself before God.
Yes, and the source puts it starkly. You don't stay married because it's easy. You stay because it's holy.
Wow. Not because it's easy, because it's holy.
It's not about chasing that feeling of being in love all the time. It's about staying in commitment. Love, in this view, becomes an action, a choice you make every day to keep the covenant, not just a feeling that washes over you.
So when the in-love feeling fades, which it does sometimes,
the covenant is the structure, the scaffolding that holds things together. It gives time for those feelings to maybe come back, or for a deeper, more mature love to grow.
That totally reframes discussions about rough patches in marriage, doesn't it? It's not about, am I still feeling it, but am I still committed to the promise?
Exactly. So what are the practical effects of thinking this way? Day to day. How does it change how you handle arguments or just disagreements compared to that contract mindset?
Yeah, what does it look like in real life?
Well, the implications are huge. When you see marriage as a covenant, conflict shifts. Instead of, if you upset me, then I pull back or fight back.
The if-then.
Right. It becomes more like a despite still mindset. Despite this argument, I am still committed to you, to us.
So you approach problems looking for solutions, not escape routes.
Exactly. You're committed to working through it because the bond itself is sacred. It's non-negotiable. You don't have one foot out the door mentally keeping score.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Okay, say a couple hits major financial stress. A contract view might lead straight to blame. You spend too much, you're not earning enough, you're not holding up your end.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It leads to resentment fast.
Totally. But a covenant mindset changes the question. It becomes, okay, how do we handle this together? What do we need to do to support each other and get through this difficulty?
It builds resilience because the commitment isn't based on everything going perfectly.
Right. It pushes you towards deeper forgiveness, sticking it out because you know the promise is unconditional. It fights that self-preservation instinct you get with contracts.
Yeah.
And replaces it with this mutual sacrificial commitment to each other and the covenant itself.
Okay, but what about really extreme situations? Abuse. Things that seem truly irreconcilable. Does the covenant idea just trap people? That's a criticism you hear.
That's a really important and sensitive question. The source emphasizes the ideal is this unbreakable covenant. But it also operates within the reality of a broken world. Sin, harm. They tragically happen. So the covenant perspective, rather than just trapping someone, offers a framework for redemption and restoration first. The default is always to try and stay, work, reconcile, bring God into it.
Yeah.
But it has to acknowledge that sometimes, tragically, the covenant is so shattered, often by one person's actions, abuse, profound betrayal, that separation might become necessary for safety and sanity.
So it's not absolute in trapping someone in harm.
No. But even in those awful situations, the spirit of the covenant seeking holiness, reflecting Christ, even in pain, can guide that difficult path. It's different from just dissolving a contract in anger. The focus can shift, hopefully, from just blame towards healing, even if separation is the outcome.
That makes sense. It still prioritizes the sanctity. Even when dealing with the wreckage, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Do I treat my own important relationships like a contract, ready to bail if my needs aren't met? Or like a covenant, a sacred promise calling me to grow even when it's tough?
It's a deep question for all of us.
It is, and it highlights that marriage, fundamentally, is meant to be way more sturdy than we usually think. Which brings us to another really powerful idea from the source, tied directly to this covenant thing. Marriage requires surrender. Transformation.
Yes, the refining aspect.
We love the idea of love as this beautiful, easy feeling, right? Something that just happens to you. You fall in love.
Filling into a fluffy cloud.
Yeah, but the source pushes back hard on that romance novel idea. It says, pretty bluntly, love isn't a feeling.
Ouch. Right.
Instead, it defines it as a decision to die to self every day. That's tough for us today, isn't it, in our individualistic world? Goes against the whole personal fulfillment narrative.
It absolutely does. It hits right at the core of how we tend to view relationships. And the source immediately links this to that famous passage, 1 Corinthians 13.
The love is patient, love is kind one.
That's the one. Love is patient, kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It keeps no record of wrongs. Trying to actually live that out, not just nod along, especially in the close quarters of marriage.
It's incredibly hard.
It is, which is why the source calls marriage a refining fire. It's as it forces you to confront your pride, your selfishness, your wounds.
A crucible where all your flaws get exposed.
Exactly. You really can't hide in marriage, not fully.
Right.
Your rough edges, your insecurities, your bad habits, they all come out eventually. That constant interaction, two different people trying to live as one, it inevitably creates friction.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about this active, sometimes pretty painful growth process. Less about finding comfort, maybe, and more about being sharpened, like a spiritual boot camp.
That's a great way to think about it, a spiritual boot camp. And the whole point of this refining, according to the source, is that God makes you more like Him.
Through the friction.
Through the friction. Through learning to yield your own way, humility grows. Through messing up and needing forgiveness and giving it, forgiveness becomes real. Through choosing to put the other person's needs first, selfless action develops. You change from being self-focused to being other-focused, generous, truly loving.
And this isn't just about big dramatic moments, is it? It's in the everyday stuff.
Totally. Shared money, different ways of talking, raising kids, deciding where to go on holiday, even just what to have for dinner.
Yeah.
Think about money. One's a saver, one's a spender. That's a built-in refining fire, right? It forces you to face your individual habits, your fears, your pride.
Yeah.
You have to learn patience, compromise, trust.
Or disagreeing on how to handle the kids.
Exactly. It's not just about parenting styles. It can bring up deep fears, control issues, maybe stuff from your own childhood. Working through that with a covenant mindset, committed to growing and to the other person. That's where the transformation kicks in.
So the source emphasizes it's not about finding that mythical one perfect person who completes you.
No, that whole idea sets you up for disappointment, usually.
Instead, it's about becoming the one your covenant needs.
That's the huge shift. Instead of, what am I getting out of this? Or, is this person making me happy?
The question becomes, how can I become the person this covenant, this partner, needs me to be?
Exactly. How can I become more patient, more forgiving, more selfless? It moves the focus from receiving to giving, from being served to serving the relationship itself.
That completely flips the script on happily ever after. It's not a destination you reach with Prince Charming or Cinderella.
Nope. It's a lifelong journey of becoming a better human through the messy reality of a committed relationship.
Which means even the hard times, the arguments, the sacrifices, they're actually part of a bigger divine plan for making you better.
That's the perspective.
Yeah.
So how can listeners maybe apply this idea that relationships spur growth, even outside of marriage?
Yeah, how does that connect?
Well, this idea is powerful for any close relationship, really. Friendships, family, definitely marriage. It asks us to see friction not just as, oh no, something's wrong with them, or this relationship is failing, as an opportunity for my growth. When you hit a rough spot with someone you care about, a misunderstanding, a disagreement, feeling hurt, instead of jumping to, what's their problem, or why am I unhappy?
You ask,
Okay, what is this situation showing me about my pride, my selfishness? Where do I need to grow?
taking personal responsibility for your own character development?
Right. Recognizing that close relationships, especially committed ones, are exactly where we're most challenged and so most refined. They push us towards more humility, patience, unconditional love, seeing even the tough stuff as a chance for self-discovery, for becoming more who we're meant to be. It can turn frustrating moments into learning moments.
That's really profound, and it connects perfectly to the next major point from our source, which is why. Why is marriage so often under attack? Why is there so much pressure, so much breakdown?
It introduces that spiritual dimension.
Yeah, it says, why does the enemy attack marriage so hard? Because he hates what it mirrors. That's a bold statement. A spiritual battle, with marriage on the front lines.
And what does it mirror again?
Christ's unbreakable love for his church.
Okay, so that brings in a completely different, maybe even unsettling understanding of why marriages struggle. If marriage is truly this living picture of Christ's unwavering commitment.
Then when it breaks down, it's more than just sad for the people involved.
Far more, according to the source, it says. So when you quit on your marriage, you're not just walking away from a person. You're distorting a picture of God's glory.
Wow. Distorting God's glory, that raises the stakes incredibly high.
It does. It means marriage carries this sacred, spiritual weight. It's like a visible testimony to an invisible, divine truth. And the source backs this up with Mark 10.9.
Which says,
What God has joined together, let no man separate. That's not just presented as good advice. It's a statement about the sanctity, the divine origin of the bond. It implies there's a spiritual aspect to keeping it intact.
so basically a marriage ending isn't just a personal failure. It's viewed as like an attack on God's reputation, a deliberate blurring of his character in the world.
That's the weighty perspective, yes. The analysis suggests that the enemy, these opposing spiritual forces, they can't destroy God, so he targets what God created to reflect him, marriage.
Makes sense in a way. Go after the reflection if you can't touch the real thing.
Exactly. So the idea is, if marriage is this powerful, visible symbol of God's faithful, redeeming love, then attacking it, weakening it, distorting it,
Right.
that becomes a primary strategy.
How does that manifest?
When marriage breaks down, it obscures that divine image. It makes it harder for people to grasp what God's covenant love is really like. The enemy's goal, in this view, is to make God's love look unreliable, conditional, maybe even fake, by messing with its most prominent earthly reflection.
So all the trends we see, high divorce rates, people just living together without commitment, redefining marriage away from this original model, or just widespread cynicism about lasting love.
From this viewpoint, those could all be seen as signs of this spiritual opposition, deliberate attempts to weaken and twist the very institution meant to showcase God's glory and steadfast love.
Like smashing all the signposts pointing towards God's character.
That's a good way to put it. It doesn't destroy God, but it makes it much harder for people to find or understand him. It forces us to consider the spiritual significance of marriage way beyond just the personal or social aspects. It's a key player in a spiritual landscape.
That puts a tremendous amount of weight on every single marriage, doesn't it? Like each one is part of this huge cosmic drama.
It does suggest that the success or failure has ripple effects far beyond the couple.
So what does it mean for society if this core picture keeps getting fractured?
Well, the implication is a profound impact. If marriage is this foundational pillar reflecting divine truth, then weakening it affects the whole spiritual health, maybe even the moral compass of society.
It's not just individual pain, but a wider societal wound, dimming a crucial light.
That's the idea, like deliberately clouding the main window people look through to see God's nature.
Can you give an analogy?
Okay, imagine a society where the idea of objective truth just dissolves. People stop believing anything is definitively true. What happens?
Chaos, breakdown of trust. Hard to build anything solid.
Right, it affects everything. Justice, shared understanding, basic trust. Similarly, if the institution of marriage representing God's unwavering covenant, love, and unity is constantly broken or redefined away from that blueprint,
then our understanding of those things, commitment, sacrifice, faithfulness, gets warped.
it can, yes.
Yeah.
It can lead to this culture where relationships feel disposable, where deep, lasting connection seems like a fairy tale, not a divine possibility we can strive for. This spiritual perspective really challenges us to think about the massive societal impact when this sacred institution gets undermined.
Wow. Okay. This whole deep dive has really uncovered layers I never knew were there.
Yeah.
We've looked at marriage as God's first covenant, right back in Eden before sin, setting this standard of perfect unity.
The original blueprint.
Then as this profound mirror reflecting Christ's love for the church, carrying huge symbolic meaning.
The living sermon.
We've grasped it not as a contract conditional, breakable, but as a sacred covenant, based on promise, not performance.
Unconditional commitment.
We've seen it as that refining fire, demanding surrender, but shaping us, making us more like God through the process.
Painful but purposeful growth.
And finally, understanding why it might face such opposition. Because breaking it distorts that vital picture of God's glory.
A spiritual target.
Right. So reflecting on all this, it can feel maybe a bit heavy, maybe even bring up some pain. Perhaps your own marriage feels really difficult right now, broken even.
Or maybe you're single and wondering if that kind of love story, that blueprint, is even possible anymore in our world.
Yeah, or maybe you feel like you failed in this area, or been deeply hurt by someone else's failure, leaving scars.
It's real stuff. But the source doesn't just leave us there with the weight of it all. It offers this powerful note of hope, redemption. It points to Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23.
What does that say?
His mercies are new every morning.
New every morning.
Yeah, it's this potent truth. God's not finished. Not with your story, not with your relationship or lack thereof, not with your heart.
No matter how bad things seem, or how many times you feel you've messed up.
There's always a chance for a fresh start. New grace. Healing. It implies the divine blueprint, even though it gets smudged by us and attacked from outside,
Yeah.
it's never totally wiped out. Hope for restoration is always there. A new day can always begin. God can work even in the most messed up situations.
That's incredibly comforting, especially after digging into some of these really challenging truths. It's about inviting God back in, right? Not just letting him watch, but asking him to be the architect again.
Absolutely. That's the closing message from the source, really. If you invite God back into the absolute center of your marriage, or even just your desire for one if you're single, he can redeem it, restore it, rewrite the story.
It's not just wishful thinking.
No, it's presented as a testament to God's grace, his power, his own covenant-keeping nature. But it comes with that critical reminder.
What's that?
Because marriage isn't just about happiness, it's about holiness. And holiness leads to something deeper than happiness. It leads to legacy.
Okay, unpack that. Happiness versus holiness.
Well, happiness, as we know, often depends on circumstances, feelings. It comes and goes. Holiness, in this context, it's not about being stuffy or perfect. It's about being set apart for God's purpose, aligning with his original design, living out the covenant, letting that refining fire do its work in you.
And that leads to legacy. How?
Because that holiness, that commitment to the blueprint, even when it's hard, that leaves something behind. Legacy here isn't just kids or money. It's a living testimony, a lasting impact, a clear, enduring picture of God's glory, His faithfulness, His love, shining through your life, your union, even after you're gone.
Wow, so it's about the impact on the world around you beyond just your own personal feelings.
It's a profound, eternal impact. Your relationship becomes this beacon, a living sermon that echoes for generations. That's the potential legacy.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Moving beyond our own desires to consider the eternal picture. So here's something to chew on. If we really see marriage as this divine covenant designed to mirror something eternal, what does that mean for how we define success in our relationships? How do we move beyond just, am I happy, to thinking about that profound, lasting impact on the world?
It definitely gives us a lot to think about.
It really does. Challenges us to see this fundamental part of life with fresh eyes, maybe even sacred eyes. Thanks for joining us on this really profound journey into the meaning of marriage.
Hope it's giving you, the listener, new perspective.
Yeah, some valuable insights to take forward into your own life and relationships.